Welcome to Passive Aggressive Income. This program may contain strong language. The content may not be suitable for audiences under the age of 17. We understand many of our listeners may not agree with all of our personal viewpoints. We in no way, shape, or form mean to be offensive to anyone. Our show notes will provide all of our source material included for each episode. Now let's get passive aggressive.
Hello and welcome back to Passive Aggressive Income. We're your hosts, Lexi and Mims, and we are continuing the talk about real estate. The last few episodes and our next one too are all sort of different real estate topics. So we're really excited and passionate to get back to our roots with that. And Mims is going to take the lead on this one this week.
Yes, I am. So let's talk about the importance of doing property tours for your rental properties. If you're wondering why property tours are important, I'm going to educate you in this episode. I'm going to change your mind and thinking that they're a waste of time and
They're
give you a
not.
lot of insights.
Yeah.
It is important to walk your properties, especially if you have apartment complexes, for three main reasons. Check to see what the condition of the property is in, write down any maintenance or cosmetic issues that need to be addressed, and to show the tenants that management is proactive and involved, which will deter a lot of unwanted behavior. So
Mhm.
let's say you don't go there for like, I don't know, a year, and you get there and you're like, why is there a whole bunch of needles on the ground? Why is there a homeless person sleeping in the hallway? These are all things that you could avoid if you are continuously going there and monitoring what the condition is, what are people if people are abusing the units or the property, if people are taking advantage of you not being there. This is why you want to make your presence known.
Mhm. Yeah.
I am aware of a lot of landlords thinking that doing monthly property walkthroughs is overkill and unnecessary. And to me, that just screams, I don't care, I'm lazy. I'm sorry if that's rude or blunt or whatever, but it's just if you take pride in what you have and what you own, then you should be on top of it. And once a month, I know it may be like a lot, but it's 1 day or 2 days of your
Mhm.
time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you buy a property, that's like the biggest investment that you will probably buy in your life is like a house.
Mhm.
That's a lot of money. And you really need to be proactive about making sure it's not falling into pieces and avoiding really big costs later on because you weren't just taking the time to make sure that there weren't problems and like letting them get bigger.
Right. Yeah. If you are a landlord or a property manager, I hope you care about your property's condition as it's your responsibility to maintain it. So let's get into the what. So on your property tours, make sure to bring a notebook and pen to write things down. An even better idea is to make printout inspection sheets that has fields for you to fill out on the go. And you can make your own or use, Google templates. It's really not anything that you need to go crazy about. And what you should be writing down is anything that needs to be fixed, the associated property, and the date. I also star really important things that need to be fixed, right away, so that I know that I really need to get to these. The other things are, just cosmetic or just to spruce the place up. But the ones that are bolded, highlighted, or starred are things that need to get done within this week.
Hmm.
So what to look out for comes down to basically everything. So you have to have your eyes peeled for everything. This is your time to really take in what is going on. But here are some big examples: broken windows, lawn care, snow removal, dog waste pickup. If that's on them to pick up, going there and making sure that that's something that they're staying on top of is really important. Or if that's something that you pay a company to maintain, making sure that they're actually doing their job and doing their job well.
Yeah.
smoking inside the building. Not a lot of people or not a lot of places they allow smoking anymore, but people do it anyway. So make sure that you are being on top of that because obviously we don't want smoking in the properties as that's damaging. There's other people that are on oxygen, it's just like not healthy whatsoever.
Yeah, it's like one of the main things that I'll look out for before like renting to anyone. I always ask, do you smoke? And then we need to establish rules in place because
Yeah,
it's not something I'm trying to deal with.
no. Garbage cleanup. So, is there wrappers, bottles on the lawn? Is there a whole pile up next to the garbage bins? What is that situation like? Also, repainting the interior or the exterior. Maybe somebody went through with a crayon in the common hallway and it needs to get painted over or scrubbed out. Or maybe the paint is chipping on the exterior and you need to get after it because it just looks like dog shit. um, Also, take a look at the parking lot situations. Are there vehicles that shouldn't be there and should they be towed? I know that this happens a lot where people are homeless or they just, live in their van and then they choose to park it at a apartment complex. That's actually pretty common because they think that they're going to be undetected. That's I feel for their situation. I feel for what they're going through, but a lot of the times it could lead to other problems and other liabilities, and it's just not safe. So making sure that you have signs that say, you're going to get towed if you're not,
Right.
assigned here, and making sure that you follow through with that, just because of the safety of it.
Yeah, and you don't want to invite like other, I don't know, sort of like sketchy characters. If like a car
Yeah.
is stolen and it's abandoned in your parking lot, then now you have to deal with
Ooh.
that. You don't want to like have to, I don't know, you don't want your place to be like, this is a place where you can get away with stuff.
Exactly. And that's why these property tours are so important because
Mhm.
obviously, if you have a kid that is unsupervised, what are they gonna do? They're gonna wreak havoc. They're gonna
Right.
do whatever they wanna do. They're gonna go and eat 10 pounds of candy. They're gonna go and flush a towel down the toilet, because nobody's saying you can't do that. You gotta be the person that's saying, "Hey, no, that's not something that flies around here, and I actually care about things, so
Right.
we're gonna fix all of that, and we're gonna maintain it, and you're gonna follow the rules."
hmm Yeah, and it doesn't have to be as extreme as like a parent-child relationship, but like you are like the truth is that you have like a place of authority and like you are providing a service and that service
Mhm.
is your home or your property. So you really have to take responsibility for the things that are happening and making sure that you have rules in place and checking on those rules to make sure they're followed because you are responsible for it ultimately.
Right. And, this also making sure that the common areas are clean. So is the laundry area clean? Or are people throwing lint all over the place? Are the hallways clean? Are there people just camping out in the hallways? Just walking inside and out. Don't just like walk around and be like, yep, we're calling it good. Graffiti on the building. I even in this area, the Fox Valley, I've seen people with their properties having graffiti all over, making sure that it doesn't look like that because again, that does attract like the wrong type of people. We want to have it clean. We want it to look really nice and aesthetically pleasing. And graffiti is, unless you actually commission that, it's not. It doesn't need to
Right.
be on an apartment building.
hmm
Any water leaks. This is a really great time to go and, if somebody has been saying, "Hey, I hear a drip or something," like just pop in there if they are willing to let you in, or go in the basement and see is it wet down here? Just make sure that you are covering everything.
hmm
Check the furnace filters in order to replace them. I know a lot of people don't think about this, but you should be checking them and replacing them a lot,
Yeah.
and uh, if people don't really understand what that means, it's basically like sucking through like a really pinched straw. That's how it feels like when the furnace is really clogged up. So we want to make sure that the furnaces are being kept up on.
Yeah, we do that for midterm rentals. We do that every time we turn the unit, we're replacing furnace filters. So that could look
Yeah,
like anywhere from like 2 to 4 months.
right. gutter replacements or repairs, the number one reason why there are water damage in the basements or a property is because there are no gutters anywhere, or they're broken, or the downspouts are missing, or
Mhm.
whatever the case may be. So make sure that you're on top of that, because the last thing that you want is a flooded basement or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, Mims, that you are inspiring me to do something that's been on my to-do list for a very long time, which is get
Good.
my gutters cleaned out
Yes.
because you're supposed to do that like every fall and spring. And let me tell you, I
Mhm.
have not been doing it every fall and spring, and we are way overdue. So that's a good reminder.
Yeah. Or, if you have the money, get the guards. The guards
Yeah.
are really awesome. They prevent a lot of the leaves, the sticks, all of that. I mean, obviously, there's gonna be stuff that goes through, little pieces of whatever, but that really prevents a lot of the big stuff from going to sitting in the gutter. So make sure to look into that if you have the money for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Common area light bulb replacements. I suggest you get light fixtures that don't take regular light bulbs so that tenants aren't inclined to steal them. This happens very often. So if you can prevent buying the common type of light fixtures that you can just, like pop out the light bulb really easily, I would go with that route, because people get desperate.
I never even considered that. That's so interesting. But most like modern light fixtures, like fan light combos or just like
Mhm.
sort of big surface lights, they sort of have like a whole like LED platform thing where it's not a normal light bulb. So if you are
Right.
doing like a renovation, there are plenty of really like nice modern options that don't have just a regular light bulb that you can
Yeah.
change the like color temperature and like dim or brighten it. And yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah. Checking the condition of the furnaces, the boilers, and the water heaters. You just want to keep up on the big stuff, and you want to make sure that there isn't anything malfunctioning there.
Mhm.
Overall aesthetics of the property. Is it time for a facelift? Have you owned it for 10 years and you're like, you know what? This really looks like the ugly duckling of the street. I need to do something about it. It's time. Like, write down what you need to do to just make it prettier, and it's going to take your property to the next level.
And it can be as simple as like gardening or weeding too. It doesn't
Mm,
have to be a whole like, let's change the siding, which is what
right.
I'm currently like saving for and have been doing for a while. But yeah, it can be small and simple, and like those little small touches can make a big difference.
Absolutely. And last on the things to look out for list is going to be, are there vagrants hanging out in the common areas, like underneath the stairs, in the basement, or in the shed? I do remember that there was, people that subleased a basement in one of the properties that I used to manage, and we didn't know that was happening for an entire year. And when it came down to evicting the person, you actually have to go through the entire eviction process, even though they don't hold a lease with you,
Hmm.
because they have established residence. So make sure that you are on top of it, because people that squat do have rights after a certain amount of days. It depends on what state.
Hmm.
So make sure to look into that. But, if you are doing these monthly inspections where you are going into the basements, the sheds, and the common areas where people can, like, maybe there's a broom closet that it doesn't lock or something like that. Making sure that there isn't anybody just hiding out there. And, it does break your heart to have to say, you can't be here, but that leads to safety issues. That leads
Hmm.
to just, this is a free for all now. Like, you're
Yeah.
gonna have like a homeless shelter now. So it's like you need to act accordingly every single time.
Yeah. For Minnesota, you get tenant rights after 28 days. So it,
See,
it
there
can
you go.
happen fast.
Exactly. And like I said, that's why you want to do these monthly ones, because 28 days, that's a whole freaking
Yeah.
month. So let's talk about the when. My suggestion on property tours is to have you, as a hands on landlord, or the property management company, if you're hands off, walk all the properties in one day every month, if possible, of course. If you have thousands of units, then break it up within 1 week. Definitely don't try to cram it all in one, and because you're not going to really like have the capacity to notice everything if you're
Mhm.
rushing like to the next property to the
Yeah.
next property after that. So make sure that you actually have like the capacity to be present and try to pick up on everything. But also like keep it moving, like don't like just be like, okay, I'll get some like this week and then maybe some next week because that just like jumbles everything up. So if you
Mhm.
have a lot of these properties, just do it all in like 1 week and just keep it flowing.
Yeah.
You can get away with, every other month, maybe even 3 months if you only have like duplexes or single family homes. But for apartments, a lot can happen in a month. Like Lexi was just talking about 28 days. If somebody parks it there for 28 days, they're basically living there and they
Yeah.
don't, you have to pay to get them out essentially if you go through the court system. So it's best to just keep an eye on it regularly because in the long run, it's going to affect you and, your profits, your business, and everything. So it's just be on top of it.
Yeah, Mims, when you do a property tour, do you go inside the units too, or do you just, walk the outside, check out the common areas, and then do like a in the unit where you schedule it with the tenant like every so often another time?
So for my personal properties, because now I'm working in real estate again. So for my personal properties, because I only have duplexes and I don't have like 1,000, I say I'm doing a yearly inspection
Mhm.
or so I do yearly inspections of the units. So
Yeah.
I go in at least once a year. For property tours for the duplexes, I go into the common areas, the outside, and if somebody catches me and say like, "Hey, there's something going on here," obviously we're gonna go in. But I typically don't go in the units every freaking month because
Yeah.
that is just a lot for people to be like, "My landlord is like basically living here with me."
hmm
And especially with if you have 1,000 units, that is a lot to cover.
A lot of time.
And especially it's like people work third shift, people work
hmm
first shift, and it's like people are, have a whole bunch of appointments, and then there are some people are like, you're not coming in without me being present, and blah blah blah.
Right.
So if you have like a massive horde of units or even like me, I don't go in every month. I do a yearly thing for the inside the units, but outside, common areas, things where I'm not having to actually go into the unit, I check.
hmm Yeah, that makes sense.
So ultimately, you know your properties and should be able to gauge on how often you should be on the ground to maintain the quality of it. Like I said, for people that have a lot more properties, you want to be as diligent as you can be, especially if they're apartment complexes. If you have like single family homes and you only have three, is it really important to go every freaking month? Maybe not, but still being there every other month or maybe
hmm
every 3 months is something that you should definitely practice.
Yeah, you want to take into consideration like how much wear and tear is happening based on like the number of people who are passing
Mm,
through and like living in this area, if it's an apartment or in this unit.
exactly. So I am going to wrap this episode up with a few takeaways here, and I am going to do it in the who, what, where, why format, just because I am loving this format nowadays. So who, you, the hands-on landlord or the property management company need to slot out time to do walkthroughs of the properties. Common sense, right?
hmm
What are you looking for is everything. Use all your senses when you are touring the properties and try to catch everything, whether it is big or small. So if you smell people smoking in the units, that's something to write down. If you see people littering all over the place, that is something to write down. If you, trip going up the stairs, that is something to write down. So making sure that you have all of your senses activated while you're going through the properties is something that you should be doing. Where this is an obvious one, but it's all the properties. If you are doing property tours, you might as well walk all of them. There is no need to leave any properties out, in my opinion. So make sure just to catch them all, especially if they're all in the same vicinity.
Hmm.
So when my personal opinion is every month, however, that should be determined by the landlord, and why. So the reason why you want to schedule monthly property tours is to provide a physical presence of ownership so that the tenants don't run amok and to be on top of the condition of all your properties. In the long run, this benefits you as a property owner. So yes, it takes time to walk all the properties, especially if you have, 500 units or more. And yes, it will take a lot to catalog. And yes, you may get some tenants who run up to you and ask stupid questions, but all of this is inconsequential in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of owning these properties. Because, like Lexi said in the beginning, this is one of your biggest investments, unless you're doing other baller shit. But I mean, your car isn't worth this much.
Right.
Just like your shoes aren't worth this much. So just make sure that you are caring for this big purchase that you bought.
Hmm. Yeah, by taking the time to do this like on a monthly basis or bi-monthly basis, whatever it is that you decide is right for you is going to help you save a lot of money in the long run because you can catch problems early and deal with like tenant issues when they
Mm,
arise instead of waiting until it's too late and now it's a huge expense or a huge time cost to
right.
fix these things.
Exactly. Yep. So I hope that you guys were able to have some takeaways from this episode, and that, is it a daunting task? Maybe, but you can make it fun. Going to see all your properties should make you feel good. It should
Yeah.
make you feel proud. So just hang on to that and don't like focus on, oh, this is going to be a freaking long day. I'm going to be walking all over the place and blah blah blah.
Hmm.
Look on the bright side. It's not everybody can walk properties. This is
Yeah.
a freaking cool thing that you get to do. And if you really don't like it, go and get a property manager.
Right. Yeah. And I think like this goes back to something that Nick, who we interviewed a few episodes back, he said something that he always keeps in mind is his whys. Why is he doing this? Why is he investing in real estate? Like make sure
Yeah.
that you're remembering like all the good things that you're working for. And yeah, it's going to take time to walk a property, but like what are the benefits that you're going to get from
Mm,
maintaining a really nice place? So keep that in
yeah.
mind too.
Yeah. Love that.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. And thank you, Mims, for talking about this topic. It's always so interesting hearing your perspective from doing property management for so many years, for so many different types of rentals and dealing with all sorts of people. So it's
Yeah.
definitely helpful to get your insight.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, all right then. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Passive Aggressive Income was written, recorded, edited, and produced by co-hosts and creators Mims and Lexi. We truly want to thank our listeners, collaborators, friends, and family that continuously support us for all the love we receive. If you enjoy our show, please give us a glowing rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, follow us on Facebook and Instagram to see what we are up to. For any inquiries, please email passiveaggressiveincome2023@gmail.com. Episodes of Passive Aggressive Income are available wherever you listen to podcasts, so make sure to subscribe and like us on your favorite streaming platform.